Hi, I'm Dr. Barb Jones. I'm the new CEO of CLSI, and I'm thrilled to be joining the organization with the thousands of volunteers that give of themselves every day to the mission of the organization. I'd like to say that I have had a 360-degree view of this diagnostic space. I started my career as a dietitian, working as an end user for laboratory testing. I got to help patients make plans based on their diagnostic tests. Then I went back to school and I got my doctorate in analytical chemistry. And my work was focused in microfluidics and lab on a chip. So I saw the creation side of the diagnostic world. Went on then to work in the program office at NIST and spent a great deal of time looking at standards development organizations across the board. So I learned standards front and back and all sides. Then went on to down to the Hill, and I worked as an advisor to the Committee on Science and Technology, where I spent time understanding the legislative side of what we do. So how do we do what we do and make sure that the government has what they need to make regulations based on our standards? I went then to run the reference materials program at the United States Pharmacopoeia, USP, and had a really amazing experience there learning documentary standards and reference material standards, how they all fit in the pharmaceutical industry and foods industries. And more importantly, I learned how to work globally in the standards development world. As we've emerged from the pandemic and we've been able to understand what changes that has meant to our world, it's very clear to me that CLSI has a huge seat at the table here and a responsibility. Standards are a place where we have the responsibility and a need to move quickly, to be able to bring to people in a situation like a pandemic that they weren't anticipating, bring the standard of care, essentially the best practices from our experts. We have a volunteer workforce of the world's experts in this area. And if we're not putting it to use at a time when we need to put it to use, then what are we doing? We, CLSI, our volunteers, the work that we do touches millions of lives every day. Everyone who is receiving a diagnostic test and everyone who has a loved one who receives a diagnostic test. So let's fast forward ourselves a few years and look at our impact globally, if we consider what an impact we can have. We already have a big footprint, but we can do better. We can coordinate with other organizations that also have a global footprint, and we can work more collaboratively with them to further our work in those areas, to camp onto what they're already doing. In addition, I think one of the most important things that we need to do is to bring people into our volunteer work base that have local knowledge of what's going on in these areas all around the world that need us to be able to move quickly to offer them standards so that they can ensure the integrity and reliability of diagnostic testing wherever that testing is done. I wanted to be a fashion designer. I would draw dresses, probably 5 hours a day, just draw dress after dress after dress. And my grandmother had been a seamstress. My mother could sew, and I made my first dress when I was 10 years old. It was a Halloween costume. It didn't turn out anything like I wanted it to. I ended up saying that I was an alien. That's how bad it was. But I've sewn ever since, and I've loved dresses, but I realized that I just simply couldn't, I didn't have the talent, I think, to be a fashion designer. CLSI has a wealth of knowledge. Our greatest asset are our volunteers. We have thousands of volunteers who are passionate about giving us their expertise and giving our standards their expertise. But we all know that we really need to bring in new voices all the time. And there are ways that we can do that. One of the most important things that we can do to bring in new voices is to make sure that those new voices know we're here. That above all. So we're going to tie in, I expect us to work really hard to tie in with those professionals that are going through school. We have a lot of academics that can start to bring people into our world. These standards are often taken for granted, and they can't be.